India, a land once known as their Golden Sparrow, was rich in resources, culture, and wealth. But the golden age of India was soon to be overshadowed by one of the darkest chapters in its history, the arrival of the British Empire. The British first came to India in the early 1600s, under the guise of trade. Their East India Company, a British trading corporation, arrived on Indian shores, offering goods from far-off lands. However, it didn't take long for their true intentions to emerge. India's wealth was simply too tempting to resist. As the British established their presence, they began to exploit India's vast resources. India, known for its precious metals, jewels, and spices, became a prime target. What was once a thriving economy, with prosperous cities like Delhi, Agra, and Calcutta, was soon under the control of foreign powers. The British didn't just come for trade, they came for control. India's gold, silver, and precious gems were systematically taken by the British Empire. The British not only took India's physical wealth but also imposed unfair trade policies. The British East India Company monopolized trade, drained India of its riches, and shipped them back to England. India's rich mines, including the famous Golconda mines, were mined for gold and diamonds, all of which were sent to Britain. The British extracted wealth from India, leaving the local population impoverished. Their once thriving economy, based on agriculture, handicrafts, and trade, was gradually dismantled as India was forced to become a supplier of raw materials for British industries. The British also demanded tribute in the form of taxes from the Indian people. Peasants, already struggling, were taxed heavily on their crops. The British exploited every avenue of India's wealth, not only in terms of gold but also in cultural artifacts, art, and intellectual property. The plunder didn't stop there. British policies systematically suppressed Indian industries. Their textile industry, for instance, was thriving in places like Dhanbad, Surat, and Ahmedabad, but British manufacturers began flooding India with cheaper, mass-produced goods. Indian artisans were left without work, and the wealth of India was being extracted for Britain's gain. Under British rule, India was subjected to famine, poverty, and economic ruin. As British coffers filled, the Indian masses faced the dire consequences. Between 1770 and 1947, millions of Indians lost their lives due to famine, while the British continued to drain India of its resources. By the time India gained its independence in 1947, the country had been left ravaged, its wealth drained, its resources exploited, and its people impoverished. The once Golden Sparrow had been turned into a land of suffering. India's story of gold, wealth, and exploitation is a painful reminder of how imperialism shaped the course of history. The British Empire may have left India, but the traces of its plunder, the loss of gold, the destruction of industries, and the exploitation of resources, are still felt today.